We have an esteemed, distinguished panel of members out here. Obviously, what you all really want to hear about, I'm guessing, is what do these esteemed members of mine think of HR, right? What is innovative practices in HR? What is imperative for an innovative organization today? So let's take a crack at that first. Who wants to go?
So just 2 data points to set the context. Organization, let's say Fortune 500 organization about 100 years back, would have a life expectancy of about 67 years. Today that life expectancy has come down to 15 years for the top 500 organizations. So clearly there is something which is happening, which is new organizations are coming much faster there. The second is that to $1 billion, if you take 1990s, a successful organization would take about 20 years to add to $1 billion valuation. And that is about 20 years back, let's say 15 years back. And if you say Google probably took about 8 years to reach $1 billion, Facebook took 6 years, and now today companies are taking under 2 years. You know, WhatsApp took under 2 years. There are companies like Snapchat have taken just about a year to reach $1 billion valuation there. So there is a very, very rapid road. In fact, there are companies which are taking under 6 months. Pokemon Go, in 4 weeks, got $4 billion valuation. Yeah? So what's happening? There is a very, very different level of disruption which the market is facing today. So that's one. The second is the intensity of the change is always talked about, and people say that it's getting more and more volatile, complex, the pace of change has gone up. If you just put a numbers, and I'm just going to take another 2 numbers just to bring in as to, have we seen the peak of this innovation at this point of time? There were about a billion people, 1.5 billion people on internet connected about 5-6 years back. So 2010, if we take, there were under 2 billion people on internet. Today there are 5 billion people. Going forward, virtually the entire population is ubiquitously going to be connected to internet. So internet has become a global nervous system, if one has to say that way. And that's created in 5 to 7 years' time, 3 billion people as a global market opportunity that never existed. This is the biggest ever marketplace getting created there. On top of it, in terms of number of internet connected devices has gone up from under 1 billion, in fact 0.6 billion in 2010 to about, let's say 2020, it will be 11 billion devices on internet. It's going to become 1 trillion in 2030. So only 1% of what is to come in terms of the disruption is what the world has really seen. So innovation is no more a competitive advantage. I think it's a survival instinct for an organization, and we need to really understand as to how do we want to really play it. We can either play it, so either there are only 2 options for organizations today. It's no more maintenance. Either you disrupt or you get disrupted. There is no third option.
How do you see the role of HR evolve? Like, we've spoken about, you know, how everything's changing, how you either can get disrupted or be disruptive. So in that, what is the role of HR?
Role of HR is, first, I think they must move away from being reactive to, they have to become proactive. I think unless HR moves from being reactive to proactive, I don't see is there any role, and therefore that's one I would think they must do. I think second is, for too long we've talked about the business guys must have HR in them. I think a time has come for us to start talking about, does HR have business in them? Why are they recruiting people on the basis of certain job specification given by different functional heads? If they know the business, they must recruit people who suit that business, right? And I think the fundamental thing that HR should always keep worrying about is every employee of the organization, are they employable at any point of time? Are they relevant? I don't think the job stops the day you recruit and then you say, I've given you the relevant guy. I think it's a continuous process of ensuring that every employee is employable at any point of time, because the businesses are getting disrupted from every direction, every moment. And therefore, if you are not able to have employees who suit every requirement all the time, I think you've just done the job for that moment. So I would think that's my take.
I think Aruna wants to add.
the human capital is the biggest asset that an organization has. Everything else is equal. If you have the money, you can buy, you can take a loan, you can buy the machinery, you can buy the best of everything. But what really drives an organization is the pulse of its people and the quality of its people. And I truly believe that if there is a war today, it's a war on talent. Okay, and just as we manage our finances, we manage everything else. And to me, I personally spend 40% of my time on HR-related issues because I believe that is the single factor that really makes or breaks a company on how you treat them, how you value them. So the operational side of HR for me is hygiene, and it's given. Okay, making sure people are paid on time, their PF is done, their appraisals are done. All of that is hygiene. What really then matters from an HR perspective, and my number one expectation is that they are talent managers. Okay, they manage that asset of the company in terms of identifying the best talent, grooming them, developing them, nurturing them, coaching them, whatever word you want to find. They are the talent managers of the company. That is my number one expectation. And number two expectation, to fall on the back of that, is that they will they will also be the eyes and ear of the CEO of me. Okay, so I don't mean as a chamcha, okay, who's trying to find out stuff and telling you what's going on, because not in that sense, but in the sense that they are the custodians. In my view, they are the best custodians of the DNA of the organization.
Do you all want to talk and spend a little more time? Maybe Sanjay, you also have something to share on this?
Employee experience is equally important, or more important, I would say, because that signifies how you're going to be dealing with people who are in your arm's reach. We have a hope in hell dealing with customers that well who are not even within our arm's reach if we can't deal with people and give them the same experience. So given that we made a transition and it had to begin with top down, we said the CEO's role is actually not Chief Executive Officer anymore, it's the Chief Experience Officer. And whose experience is it? It is the employee's experience, it is their enablement and empowerment. And what does an employee want? He wants his life simplified. He doesn't want it complicated with rules, policies, and things like that, which don't really address his needs, just like a customer doesn't care. So looking at that, we have to make a very big transition internally, and that transition is exactly what we do for our customers today, and the rule books can't be two separate rule books to be successful in the world tomorrow. So that's where the role of HR, just like that of a marketing person, has changed dramatically. You are an experienced person for your internal customers, but the CEO, whose agenda it is, it has to be the CEO's agenda. While I'm saying, passing the buck on to the HR, but it is not an outsourced job anymore. It is everybody's job, and the experience owner, if it is the CEO, then it's as much and spending as much time trying to make their life simple, more meaningful, to get passion and inspiration into the ecosystem of the organization.
So in that sense, if you all had to give some directives, because we have a room full of HR, what would those directives be?
My take would be start calling people as land and not asset, which means land never depreciates. You have a means to add right fertilizer, right seed, and it produces phenomenal yield. Right? So if you as HR believe that people are key, try and say they are land and not just assets which keep depreciating. I think the other point I think is on the ground at the marketplace, I don't think we can anymore compete on the strength of saying my product is better than someone else or my price is better than someone else. I think the HR will differentiate. The people will differentiate at the marketplace. Is HR able to communicate to customer the HR practices? And therefore, is the customer believing that if this company has respect for its people, they will have respect for customer. And that's what is going to get you more customer. I mean, you look at all the changing models. It's all shared economy. Nobody can say, I have everything and I'll do it all alone. And in a shared economy, I think the biggest requirement is going to be respect for each other. And I think that's somewhere we will all have to put our heads together and say, how do we bring that together? And that's going to drive the future. Whatever be the disruption, respect will remain forever if you want to differentiate at the marketplace. I think that will be my take.
I think there's a real dilemma out there on the ability of management teams, and I'm not isolating HR here, on overall ability of management teams to judge the pulse of the people, what they want, how they react. It's a different world. And I think we have to change organization cultures, the way we adapt to it. And in that context, the HR needs to find the right balance between agility and discipline. And that to me is quite critical. I mean, we still need to have a disciplined set of processes. By no means can we run a free-for-all organization out there. There are certain processes that need to be followed. I'll take a simple example, okay? So let's say the promotions, for example. Okay, you need to have a certain model in place, okay? There is a certain set of criteria and what you would use to promote somebody. But at the same time, you need to be agile enough to recognize that some of the brightest ideas might come from some of the youngest people who need a different career path and a different set of promotions. So you need to handle it in a completely different way. So if you can't balance the need for agility in an organization and the discipline that's needed, then it's going to create immense problems for the younger generation who really think and act in a different way. That sometimes the let's say the 40 plus cannot always estimate. I'll give you a simple example, okay, to just show you the kind of challenge that one can have. So I had organized an innovation contest, and then invited entries from everybody. And of course, I got a lot of entries. I think I got more than 15,000 out there. And then I announced a jury that would say, and then said, these are the people who will judge these things. And then, I announced some of the most senior and experienced people in the company. I put them out there in the jury. And then within 3 hours, I get an email from one of the employees. And I have to say, I didn't know who he was. He said to me, I'm sorry to say, but you're completely wrong. The guy was very bold. He said, you're completely wrong. I think you are judging an innovation, you're judging your ideas, and you've got a whole lot of people who have no context, or, basically try to say they're foggy old people who don't understand it. I mean, that was a little bit offensive in some way. But it made me think about what are we doing? The whole concept of seniority in an organization, how you deal, and I think it's a I think we are at a point where you have to rethink the whole model. And I'm not isolating HR. We have to rethink the whole model of organization development, recognition, how you recognize people, in a different manner. Seniority to me goes out of the window. You have to address it based on competence, and even at 10 levels below. Okay? You are addressing a completely new generation there.